Hey guys, I know for some of you it's probably very chilly outside and you want something nice and warm to eat, so how about a classic chicken pot pie? Let's get started. First, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit because we're going to prepare the chicken. I've got 2 large chicken breasts here and I'm just tenderizing them. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but I feel that doing this makes the chicken a lot more tender and juicy. I'm going to season them with some salt and pepper and a little bit of paprika, and I'm also going to drizzle some olive oil on top and just rub that in, and then you're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. You're just going to flip them over and do the exact same thing. And I'm not putting an exact measurement of seasonings on here, I'm just kind of eyeballing it, so this is completely up to you on how much you want to use. Do you want it to be more salty, more peppery? And the paprika is optional as well. You can use any type of seasonings you want. You can use some dried herbs, but I'm just going to keep things very simple here. And this is going to go into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. And just make sure it's cooked all the way through. It is going to go back into the oven, obviously, when it's inside the pie, but you do want it to be cooked all the way. Now, I'm going to put both of my chicken breasts into a medium-sized bowl. I'm going to take 2 forks, and I'm going to start shredding them. When it comes to chicken pot pie, you do not want big chunks of chicken in your pie. You want more fine shreds, and this is probably the best way to do it. Another great option is to actually take some leftover chicken, like a rotisserie chicken, and just shred that up. And you don't even have to use chicken. Another great option is turkey. So you have a lot of options here. I'm going to put my chicken to the side while I make the pie crust. Now, I've shown in past videos on how to make pie crust, so I'm not going to go into detail here, although this is doubled what I would normally make. And I will show you in detail how to make this in a future video. And trust me, it's super easy. You don't even need a food processor. You can do this completely by hand. Now, I will throw out there that you can just buy pre-made pie dough from the store and just use that, and it's a good option, but there's nothing like having homemade pie dough. It's really a huge difference. You can definitely tell in the taste, and you have control of what you put in there, because some pie doughs have sugar in them. I don't add sugar to my dough, and I think this is a great recipe that you can use for both sweet and savory pies. I'm going to put a link in the description box down below on how to prepare the crust. The amount to use for this recipe will be down there too. You'll notice that it's doubled because we're doing a top and a bottom crust. So it's going to be a little bit more than usual, but the preparation will all be there for you. While my pie dough is chilling in the fridge, I'm going to prepare the filling. I've got a whole white onion here that I'm just chopping up, and I also am mincing some fresh garlic. In a large saucepan, I've got some unsalted butter and some olive oil. I couldn't choose between the two, so I'm using both. I'm letting the butter melt completely. Lower your heat to about medium-low. You don't want your pan to be overheated. Now I'm going to put in all of my white onion in there, and I'm just going to cook it for about 10 minutes, just to make sure that they're completely cooked. Now, I will admit I was doing other things while this was cooking, and I let it sit for a little too long on its own without ever stirring it, and they came out pretty brown, but you know what? This ended up working to my advantage because it almost had a caramelized taste to it. And then I just add a little bit more olive oil to deglaze the pan, and I added my fresh garlic, and I'm going to let that cook for a few minutes, and when you notice the garlic's starting to brown just a little bit, then you can add your flour, and this is to make a roux. I'm going to switch to a whisk now, and I'm just going to mix all of these together until it kind of clumps up together. I know it looks like, oh no, something's wrong now, but nope. Once I add my chicken broth and stir this up, you will notice that it'll start to thicken and make kind of a cream sauce. By the way, fun fact, this is called a veloute, which is one of the 5 mother sauces. And now I'm going to add some half and half. You could use heavy cream or just milk, but I like to use both, so half and half it is. And this is going to change into, again, more of a cream sauce, and this is starting to look like what we would normally use for a chicken pot pie. This is the time to add your seasonings. I'm using dried parsley, salt, pepper, and that's literally it. This is all you need. If you want to go crazy with the spices here, go for it. You could use curry powder, you could use cayenne pepper, you could use some fresh nutmeg, anything you want, but I'm just going to keep things very classic here. Now I'm going to add all of my shredded chicken, and I'm going to take a spoon and just mix it all together until all the chicken is completely coated in the sauce. Be sure to keep your heat on because we're not completely done yet. We just have one more thing to add. I'm using frozen peas and carrots here. Now, if you want to use fresh carrots, go for it. Just go ahead and chop it up and add it at the very beginning with the onion and make sure it's completely cooked through. But I like to use frozen because you'll get the same result in the end anyway. and it goes great with the peas, obviously, and that's going to add some color to your chicken pot pie. And you'll notice that this mixture is a bit on the thicker side. I like that. I don't like a soupy chicken pot pie. And make sure you give this a taste just in case it needs more salt or pepper or any other seasonings. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got a 9-inch glass pie dish here that I'm just going to grease with some butter, unsalted butter to be exact, and I'm being very generous here because I do not want this pie to stick. It's time to take the pie dough out of the fridge. Go ahead and flour your work surface, get a rolling pin, make sure you flour your dough because you do not want it sticking. You may need to add a little bit more flour at a time as you're rolling this, but try not to overdo it with the flour because you don't want this to be a very dry and dense pie crust. And I'm just going to roll it out into a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it's slightly bigger than the pie dish that you're using. And this is looking absolutely perfect, so it's time to put this into the pie dish. I feel like this folding method is actually the best way to put pie dough into your dish. It really is just an easy way to do this. You don't have to worry about it ripping. And you'll notice that it's a little on the thicker side, and I want it to be that way because I don't want a super thin pie crust. I do want it to be slightly thick because it's easier to work with that way. Once you get it into your dish, go ahead and poke some holes on the bottom. This will help steam escape while it's baking. And now I'm going to add all of my filling and just go ahead and dump it in there. You don't have to be super delicate, just dump it in there and go ahead and just spread out the top. You want it to be nice and even so that you have a good even amount of everything in every bite. With the other half of the dough, I did the exact same thing. I rolled it out, folded it up, and now I'm putting it on top. And as you can see, that folding method really worked. I'm going to cut off some of the excess dough here. I don't want it to be too doughy, but don't cut it all the way to the very edge of the dish. You want there to be some extra dough on the side so that we can fold it and make a crimped edge. And you'll notice that I'm folding down, not up, and I'm doing this because simply it makes a more attractive looking pie. And I'm just gonna go all the way around. And if you have any rips or tears, go ahead and take some of the excess dough that you cut off earlier and just patch them up. Pie crust is usually pretty forgiving because in the end, after it bakes, no matter what you do, it'll look good anyway. I'm now crimping the edges. I'm taking one hand and I'm using my thumb and my pointer finger, and with my other hand I'm taking my other pointer finger and I'm literally just pressing as I go around the pie. I'm going to cut 4 slits at the very top to help steam escape, but also it'll make your pie look really pretty. In a small bowl I have 1 egg and I'm pouring a little bit of half and half. You could use cream or milk. I'm just using half and half because I have it on hand, and I'm just going to beat that, and I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to brush this mixture all over the top of the pie, including the edges, because you want this to be evenly golden brown. It's funny, I don't make savory pies very often, so usually at this step I'm used to just adding granulated sugar on top, but do not do that because this will not taste very good if you add sugar. And this is going to go into a 425 degree Fahrenheit oven for 20 minutes. And make sure you keep an eye on that because after 20 minutes, go ahead and lower your temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake this for an additional 40 to 45 minutes. And after 40 to 45 minutes, your pie will look perfect and golden brown. And before you slice into it, let it rest for about 20 minutes because if you just dig into it immediately, it'll be a sloppy mess, and we do not want that. Although getting that first slice out is not always easy. It'll give you the most trouble, but then after that, the rest of the slices should be easy to take out. And I'm just going to put that on a plate here and serve this to my family and get a nice shot for the video here because, well, I want you to look at this and say, yeah, I want to make that. And this is still my first slice, so again, it's not the most attractive. But hey, we cut to the second slice and it looks way better. Even though I let this sit for about 20 minutes before slicing into it, it was still piping hot. This pie actually holds its heat for a very, very, very long time. And even though it was a lot of fun to make, it's a lot more fun to eat. This is the perfect meal to have on a very chilly day. It is just delicious and warm and comforting. That chicken is juicy and very flavorful. That sauce is absolutely fantastic. It has the right balance of salt and pepper. The paprika actually comes through too, even though I just put it on the chicken. That parsley adds a nice flavor as well, and that pie crust is absolutely amazing. It's buttery, it's flaky, and it just helps everything come together to make the perfect family meal. Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.